down, the carts are fired up, and they're now heading onto the track for their final heat of the day. So we're near enough ready to go for the Mini-Max as they head their way onto the circuit. The way the grid lines up after that qualifying session from yesterday is how the previous grids have been. It's going to be Giraffe Kennedy from pole position in kart 411. Alongside him will be the number 413 kart of Ollie Pilker, double winner so far today. Then back on row number 2, we've got Balaz Valent in kart 414 and Victor Abozanek next alongside on 416. And then the final row of the grid will be that of Gianni Androsini. Some great starts from the German racer so far to date. Let's see what he can do in this third and final heat. And you've got Jazik Spinkovic alongside in kart 412. That's how the grid lines up then. As I said, all the warmth will be now graded into those tyres as best as possible. And of course they'll get 2 warm-up laps, so enough time to build up the temperature and get themselves into the rhythm. And of course it's all about finding the track grip as well. As I said, we've had some rain over the lunch break and the rain is now starting to fall once more. So lap by lap, corner by corner, the grip of the track is starting to change and starting to disappear. So the drivers are trying to find the best place for their manoeuvres to happen, and of course the best place to keep the kart in a straight line, because it hasn't been easy today for these Mini-Max racers, especially the man at the front. To be fair, Giraffe Kennedy has had his woes. He was off in heat number 1 down at turn 1. He was a spinner on the warm-up lap of heat number 2, and he had problems in the race earlier as well. So he's had his fair share of problems, which has really dropped him down the field. But of course, as we say, qualifying is always one thing. You may get pole position, but then to put that into race practice, it may become a difficult thing for you. So it's all about how you get on race day. That's the main focus for many of these drivers. But Giraffe Kennedy has struggled. Ollie Pilker's done well. He started on the outside of row 1 every single occasion. He's got himself to the head of the field pretty much by the time they've reached the first corner. So we'll see if he can do that for a third consecutive time. But as I said, watch out for those behind as well. Very strong competitors, especially for Gianni Androsini. He's been impressive to carve his way through the field. He'll be starting 5th on the grid, just ahead of Jazik Spinkovic as well. So all the drivers lots to look forward to as they work their way then onto the back straight for what will be the start of the race, because the formation lap has pretty much come to an end. Still waiting for the 2 behind to catch up, which they haven't quite done yet, and Giraffe Kennedy has had a really, really quick end to this second warm-up lap now, so he's going to have to slow down massively to make sure everyone's in tow, which they near enough now are as they work their way through. Last bit of weaving to be done as the rain continues to fall here in Valencia. The final heat for the Mini-Max as they work their way onto the start-finish line. The race will get underway now as the red lights go out, and not a bad start from Giraffe Kennedy this time. Can he hold on to the lead though? Down towards the first corner. Ollie Pilker's going to try and drag him as best he can, which he does. He'll hold on to second place through the first corner. Third and fourth get themselves into formation as well. Pretty much how they were off the grid, with I think Victor Abozanek just about going through. And Giraffe Kennedy's made another mistake. He's run wide at the chicane at turn 3. He's not liking these greasy conditions at the minute. Really starting to catch him out, and they may catch a few more drivers out in the process as well. As we mentioned earlier, these sorts of conditions are the ones that drivers really hate, because they're not wet, they're not dry, there's something in between. It really does affect how you handle the car, and there's going to be, as I said, a few that will struggle in these conditions, but we'll see how they get to grips with it. In the meantime, Ollie Pilker is the man that leads their field once more in kart 413, working his way then on towards the right-hander at turn 10. Side by side there between another great start from Gianni Androsini up into second place, just ahead of Victor Abozanek. It looks like Giraffe Kennedy then settled himself down into 4th place. So you've got a leader on his own, Ollie Pilker, a battle for second, which involves 3 cars, and then the 2 towards the back of the Mini, which at the back towards the back there, which is Balaz Valent and Jazik Spinkovic, as they complete lap number 1 in these starting to be horrid conditions here in Spain, which is not what we want to be saying really, but they're not the best for today's racing. Through they go then at turn number 1. Giraffe Kennedy now trying to keep with second and third, but a small mistake once again there. Just ran slightly wide on the exit of the corner. Normally on the outside of the track you will find the grip, but it doesn't seem to be there as of yet. Oh, Jazik Spinkovic nearly lost it at the chicane at turn 3. Just managed to get it back into the right direction before he went straight over the curbs, but they are getting worse and worse for now, so it's all going to be a test of who can hold the kart to the end and get this final heat win of the day. Ollie Pilker at the end of that first lap led by 1.7 seconds, and he's continuing to go quicker and quicker across the course of this lap. He's done a best of anyone in sector 1. Sector 2 should go purple. In fact, no, it's just dropped off there, so he has lost a little bit of time, but Ollie continuing to push, now extending that gap. It probably will be doubled this time through. He's bringing that margin further and further adrift ahead of Gianni Androsini, who's now under attack from Victor Abarzanek as they work their way down in towards the chicane. Slightly wide there from Androsini. Just about gets it back again onto that black stuff, but the curves will be really treacherous at the minute. You don't want to touch any of the red and white stuff, because if you do, it could end in disaster, because one little twitch on that car can put you wide as Gianni Androsini tries to search for the best of the grips on the outside of the track, which has worked through turn one. It's now pulled him away from Victor Barzanek. Giraffe Kennedy still fourth, Balaz Valent in fifth place, and then Jazik Spinkovic in sixth position, with the lead now out to 2.8 seconds pretty much. So didn't quite double, but Ollie Pilker certainly going quicker and quicker. Quickest lap so far has been set by the leader, 1:11.484, which already is a good 7 or 8 seconds off what they did earlier this morning, which you can understand with the conditions being like they are at the minute, and that's only going to get worse, I think, for the next competitors to take to the track as well. But Ollie Pilker, not being too phased at the minute, works his way on towards the right-hander at turn 11, which normally in dry conditions would be flat out. I think they're probably just teetering on the accelerator as they work their way through the last couple of corners, because you never know where the grip's going to be, especially when the conditions continue to change. So Ollie Pilker just taking it slightly easy then through the chicane. Doesn't look wet on the camera, but I can tell you here at the circuit it is properly wet now, so it's getting a lot worse for the drivers to contend with. And just wondering if they've all gone for slick tyres. I think they probably have, because it had dried up over the lunch break just about, and I think they've all gone for the slick tyres. So that's why they're struggling to find the grip out there on circuit. But now Ollie Pilker pushing on, keeps that gap at 2.8 seconds. So Gianni Androsini hasn't dropped back. And Giraffe Kennedy has gone off just in front of me in the commentary box. He's lost it once again down towards turn 3. He now rejoins and will drop to the, not quite the back of the field, I don't think. I think they're all there or thereabouts. We have lost, though, Zazik Spinkovic. He's disappeared on that previous lap, so I think we've lost him in sector 2 or 3, or maybe into the pit lane, but he hasn't come through, unfortunately. So we're down to 5 for now. Ollie Pilker still leading. There he is on your screen, working his way through the last few corners, through turns 10 and 11. And just behind him you can see Gianni Androsini. He's now again just starting to close that gap by the looks of it. He's done a green in sector 1, which means it's a personal best. So Gianni Androsini now looking to catch up with Ollie Pilker. Still a big old gap, 2.8 seconds with just the couple of laps now to go. So he's going to have to push on very, very hard if he wants to catch up with the leader. But if Ollie stays where he is, if he falls back to second, if he falls back to third, he'll still be good enough for pre-final pole for tomorrow, which he'll be looking for, of course. Change for third and fourth, because Balaz Valent has now just gone past Victor Abarzanek. So that's been the change between those two. And as we said, Giraffe Kennedy has dropped down now into 5th place, quite a distant 5th place as well. Not really the day Giraffe Kennedy was hoping for, definitely after the positive showing of yesterday in qualifying. But again, he'll put that all behind him for today and look forward to all the action tomorrow in the finals, where the points start to be scored. And of course, the real glory hunting of the weekend starts to begin, where the final ticket is up for grabs for the grand finals in Portugal later this year. That is up for grabs for every single competitor within all the categories, so they'll be looking to do the best they can. Ollie Pilker now working his way through on towards the back straight. Gianni Androsini closed the gap by a couple of tenths last time through. It now sits at 2.6 seconds. So Gianni's doing well. He's also clawed back a few more tenths on this lap in sectors 1 and 2. So he's not done with this job just yet. He's really got the bit between his teeth in these wet conditions. He works his way then across the line. Ollie Pilker does a 113.3. Gianni Androsini does a 113.1. So 2 tenths taken out, but the gap is still a pretty big 2.4 seconds between the two. Meantime, Balaz Valent is the quickest on track at the minute, 113.4. In fact, no, he's not the quickest, but he's done a couple of personal bests in the last couple of sectors. So he's getting to grips with the wet conditions as well. A little bit of a wheel on the edge of the track there, the white line, which always is very, very treacherous. But Balaz Valent deciding to go with that. He's now being hounded by Victor Abarzanek as they turn away through the left-hander at turn 6. On towards turn 7 they now head, and then the short straight they will head down before they get to this point of the track, turn 9, where Ollie Pilker is currently at. Working his way through again. A couple more tenths has been taken out by Gianni Androsini. So it's not over yet for this win. I think Ollie Pilker will definitely be secure as our poleman for pre-final. But who is going to get this final win of the day for the heats for the Minimax. We've got one more lap to find out because we're now heading towards the end of lap number 6, and of course been a 7-lap encounter. We've only got the one now to go as they all just tiptoe their way through the chicane over those curbs, being very, very cautious with what they do because you don't want to push too hard and make one final mistake on what now is the last lap. So the gap has closed once more, down to 2 seconds. Personal best for Gianni Androsini, now down below the 1 minute 13s. He was on that previous lap again 0.3 of a second quicker, so he's done a grand job, but not quite grand enough to catch up and pass Ollie Pilker. But he can take that into tomorrow, and if we have wet conditions tomorrow, then that could be a real good thing for Gianni Androsini to have in his head and just use that to the best of his ability. But the top 2 have broke away. The 2 guys behind 3rd and 4th are on their own as well, and then of course we've only got Duraf Kendi left within the race because Jazik Spinkovic has disappeared, by the looks of it, headed into the pit lane. In terms of the points, we'll run you down that once we get the checker flag and who will be starting where on the grid, because thankfully to our timing monitor and all the timing team here, they update us on points as well, so it's always very handy to see the situation. But Ollie Pilker on his way now through the last sector, working his way down in towards what will be the final corner. Ollie Pilker has had a perfect Saturday here in Valencia as he works his way through the final corner. Ollie Pilker, 3 out of 3. That's his hat-trick so far for the weekend. Can it get even better tomorrow? We'll have to wait and find out. But what a drive in wet conditions for Ollie Pilker to pick up his 3rd victory of the day here in Minimax. He wins in the end by 1.6 seconds ahead of Gianni Androsini, who moved up again 3 places within that one race. So great job there from the German. 3rd place still waiting, I think, to come through. No, in fact, they've taken the checker flag. Balázs Valent and Victor Bozanek, and Duraf Kendi, after pole position in all heats, he failed to get himself inside the top 3 on any occasion, but he comes through in this one after a slight mistake down in 5th place. And the final runner, but not classified, will be Jazik Spinkovic, who was a retirement from the race 5 laps from home. But there is your results. Ollie Pilker for Unique Racing winning by 1.6 seconds ahead of Gianni Androsini, RS Competition. 3rd place then for Balázs Valent for Hargaiti Racing. And then 4th place Victor Bozanek for Unique Racing. Darren Brown Racing with Duraf Kendi. And Unique Racing's Jazik Spinkovic rounds out your top 6 in the Minimax competition here this weekend. So that all sets us up for tomorrow's pre-final for the Minimax. And in terms of the points, as I said, the lesser you score, the better it is for your pre-final grid. So Ollie Pilker with 3 wins, 0 points, starts tomorrow from pole position. 2nd place then will be Gianni Androsini with 7 points from his 3 heats. 3rd place is then going to be Balázs Valent with 11 points. He gets that credited to him. Same